Hello, welcome to another crafty video. So today's one is actually using some fantastic 3D MDF kits from Polkadoodles. I've recently rejoined the Polkadoodles design team and Nikki and her husband Chris have just got one of these laser cutting machines. And they've been experimenting with lots of chipboard, which you'll be seeing in videos coming up here and there. And they've also been experimenting with really cool layered MDF kind of designs. And the first one that they have brought out is this fantastic Highland Cow. So it's a Highland Cow layered 3D MDF wooden sign / plaque, and it's part of their Woodies range. That's what the official name is on the website. And then you can buy this separately, which is a gorgeous little sign that's called the Love Moo Cow Theme Text 3D MDF wooden sign plaque, and it's part of the Woodies collection as well. And basically this video is showing you the process behind putting this all together. I've actually filmed about 6, maybe 7 hours worth of footage, so I'm actually getting my sibling to edit it. So if you're thinking the rest of this video looks really well edited, it's because my sibling did it, because I'm not that keen on editing, and I'm rubbish when it comes to having loads of footage. I just leave it all in, whereas I think possibly chopping and changing and things is going to be better watchable sort of video for you. But I really wanted to show you this at the beginning, just to show you how gorgeous the final piece is, even though it might take, it only took me a couple of days really to do this, and I really enjoyed the process of painting everything and making sure I'd gotten all of the edges and deciding on the colour scheme and everything. To begin with, I actually it's really rubbish, don't judge my drawing, but I drew a rough sort of version of the actual design, and then coloured it with my Copics really roughly, just to get a rough idea of what colours I wanted to use. And you could see later I decided I wanted to put those hearts on the umbrella as well, but I just did that to get a rough colour sort of idea, so that I didn't have like all of the blue flowers over here and maybe I'd done all pink or red flowers over there or something like that. I wanted to be able to have everything be nicely spaced out over it, so I just did a rough sketch like this. But if you have well, I suppose you could just do it on your phone really, take a photo of it and use the edit app, and then like dot a little colour of where you want different colours to be on it. You could do it that way as well. But yeah, I just did that to kind of help me. And I also did this, which was a real help as well. I went through my stash, took out all of the colours that I thought would work. I didn't end up using the pinky kind of tones, and I didn't use all of these in the end. But I just went through and found any of the colours that worked nicely. I just really rubbishly jotted on what type of paint they were and the brand and the colour, so that I could remember which swatch was for what colour. And this really helped when I was trying to like pick my tones to do different bits and pieces of the little Highland Cow as well, and to be able to plan my design. So I did this first, and then I did this, planning my colours out, so that I could get a really good representation of kind of like what colours I wanted where on here. And then I have also not just used flat colours, I've brought in some of my metallic colours of paint. So I've got like splashes up here on the umbrella. I've added in metallic to the gorgeous Highland Cow as well. He's got like coppery tones on him, just to, or her, I'm not sure if it's a boy or a girl. I was calling her a her before, but I think Nikki called him a he, so I'm not really sure, but he's very cute. And I just sort of added in bits of metallic. There's a bit of metallic on the handle of the umbrella. There's a little bit on the tulips as well. There's some metallic green on the base piece and the grass too. But I just really love how it turned out. And the fact that you can also have this sign to go with it as well, that says "Love Moo till the cows come home," which is really funny and punny. I kind of feel like maybe I should have used some greens on this somewhere to tie it all in together. Maybe I should have done the stand in greens rather than all being the same gorgeous turquoisey colour. But the reason why I use these colours is my sort of loungy area is all minty, sage greens, slightly darker emerald greens, all those sort of green tones. Plus I also have burnt orange bits and pieces because of pumpkin. I like to have pumpkin ornaments and things, of real pumpkins, not the dog pumpkin. And they're like obviously a burnt orangey kind of colour for a pumpkin. So that's why I went with these colour tones. And I also have pops of red in there as well. So that's where I'm going to put mine, because my nan used to love Highland Cows. so it's going to remind me of her whenever I look at this on my sideboard. But I just love how this turned out, and it was such a fun project to do, something really different to paper crafting. I mean, you're using all of the same techniques that you would use with your paper crafting, but you're layering up MDF rather than cardboard, and everything is already cut for you. Oh, they're over here, wait a second. I didn't show popping all of the pieces out of this because I had gessoed them ahead of time and popped them all out, but they all come in the wood still, in the MDF, so that they're protected when they're posted. And Nikki has actually engraved the numbers on the different levels. I did find in some of the cases I swapped them around and didn't actually use them in the same order, so you can play around with it and use them in whatever order you want to, really. But she did put the numbers on here, so before I gessoed everything, I took a Sharpie and wrote on the back of each of the pieces in the numbered areas the number that she had suggested, so that when it came to putting it together, I wasn't like, oh gosh, where does this go? What order does this go in? So I would definitely recommend doing that, and then gessoing everything so that when you paint with your colours, you're going to get beautiful crisp colour tones rather than a murky colour, or you're going to have to do like 3 or 4 coats on it to get the beautiful bright colour because it'll have the brown undertones on it. But that's how all of the pieces come in all of these lovely layers. I was kind of going to keep these. Typical crafter, isn't it? It's technically the waste, but we want to keep it. I'm not really sure why. I'm kind of feeling like maybe you could do something with them, or even just use the offcut scraps when you're doing a mixed media kind of project to raise things up rather than using 3D foam. This would be really nice and solid, and it's not too difficult to cut actually. I had painted both sides of the bottom of the grass here and I couldn't get it in the slit, so I just used my Tonic retractable craft knife or box cutter, whatever you kind of call this sort of knife, utility knife, and I just cut away a little tiny bit of the slot and it went in perfectly, but it was really easy to cut. So if you do, you know, want to use the leftovers of this, you can actually cut it relatively easily to kind of make use of that as well. I thought in the beginning of this as well, I don't know if anybody's interested because it's highly unlikely that all of us have the same stash, but if you were interested in colours, I didn't show this at all in the video. So for the Highland Cow itself, I was using, for the feet, I used this matte chalk paint from Cosmic Shimmer called Umber, and I mixed it with some Andy Skinner Artist Pigment paint of raw umber. His Artist Pigment paints are quite translucent though, they're supposed to be because they're an artist kind of paint. So I did find that when I was painting my initial layers, they were quite translucent, so I did move on to some Dina Wakley paints for the more detailed layers of adding the fur on here as well. And then also, so for the feet it's those two colours, and then for the darker tones I was kind of mixing the raw umber with some quinacridone gold to kind of make a deeper darker tone. Then I was just adding more quinacridone gold, and I was also mixing in some of Andy Skinner's matte chalk paint. So these ones are opaque, and this is called Buff, this one, and I was mixing in some of that to create more of an opaque kind of colour. And then as I got to the lighter tones, I was also mixing in some of the transparent yellow iron oxide as well to create the main colours for the Highland Cow. Then for the sort of for the more foreground layers, I was bringing in these two colours from Dina Wakley, the Cheddar and the Sedona, and mixing them in different variations and even with a bit of the Andy Skinner ones to get the tones that I wanted. For the I did also use a little bit of cocoa actually as well in the Dina Wakley range. For the coppery metallics in the actual Highland Cow as well, I was using a mixture of antique copper, Cosmic Shimmer paint, and Dina Wakley's Penny paint. I used 32 different paints to paint this. Obviously you don't need to use that many paints, I just have quite a lot and I wanted to use lots of them, but you definitely don't have to use that many paint colours. Then for some little bit of extra metallic elements, I also threw in a little bit mixed with those other mixes. I don't think I used much of this one actually. This is the Spiced Pumpkin Pink Ink Multi-Surface paint, but this one looked absolutely beautiful. I love the Cosmic Shimmer Metallic Luster paints, they're fantastic. And this one is Coral. That one worked really nicely for the extra accents on there. For the yellows of the flower centres, I used Mustard from Dina Wakley, and then I added on a little bit of Marigold, which is a metallic luster paint from Cosmic Shimmer. Then for the hearts, I actually, I'd picked this one out to begin with, which is the Scarlet Red Mead and Fluid acrylic paint that I was showing you in my jelly printing videos. However, it was quite translucent because it's a more of a fluid paint. It doesn't have very high coverage. So in the end, I switched over to Ruby from Dina Wakley Media Paint. And then for the slightly lighter colour, you can see there's two different reds. The darker one is the Ruby, and then the lighter tone is called Rouge. So I used both of those for that. I didn't add any metallic to the hearts because I felt like I put enough metallic elsewhere. Then for the green areas, I was mixing a few different greens together. The lightest green tone I mixed in was the matte chalk paint in Citron from Cosmic Shimmer. And then I was mixing in the Holy Guacamole from Andy Skinner's line of matte chalk paints with Cosmic Shimmer. And then I also mixed in to make the darker tones and just to deepen some of the lighter tones where I wanted them. I used the Ivy from matte chalk paint from Cosmic Shimmer. And then in some of the areas as well, I wanted an even dark tone, so I used some Fur from the Dina Wakley Media range. And then I did a tiny bit of metallic detail on the grass. I sort of dry brushed it onto the bottom and onto this front lighter section of grass. I probably should have put some on here actually. And I also put it on the middle of the veins here. And this was the multi-surface paint from Pink Ink Designs called Green Apple. So that's that gorgeous one. And then for the eyes, I used Dina Wakley's black, and then I used Dina Wakley's white to do the catch light on there. Although the pigment paints that I'd been using, I presume it's the Andy Skinner Artist ones, the catch lights are kind of going a tiny bit pink, and I feel like I might have done them a bit big. On the camera they look too big, in person they look alright actually. But they are getting a tiny little pink tinge to them, so I might have to keep going over that until that stops bleeding through. But that's what I used on there. For the silver of the umbrella, I used some Pebeo silver. This is the iridescent silver, so that one's a really good one for a nice silver tone. I just thought as well, the horns, I was actually using the Andy Skinner buff in the matte chalk paint, plus I did also mix a tiny touch of this in, which is that umber that I'd used for the feet of the cow. So I was kind of tying in different colours as well to the different areas too, to kind of match those tones across them. Then for the watering can, this kind of sagey green colour, and the plant pot down here, originally I was just using the matte chalk paint called Eucalyptus from Pink Ink Designs. But then I did end up coming in with a couple of different colours from the Dina Wakley range in Aloe and Sage to add some of the extra details, add a little bit of shading and a little bit of depth in different areas as well. And actually, to begin with, to deepen this up, I had been mixing a tiny bit of Stormy Sea from the Andy Skinner matte chalk paints into that to make that a little bit deeper originally, until I'd taken those two Dina Wakley paints out. And then for the lighter tones of turquoisey blue, so on the umbrella, the main part of this sign, some of these flowers as well, and the tulips, I was using the Jade Mint matte chalk paint. And then if I wanted a slightly darker tone of that, I was mixing it in with the Pacific Teal matte chalk paint. And then the darker areas of the umbrella, the handle of the umbrella, and all of the writing over here is also in that Pacific Teal as well. And then these other blue tones of flowers, the sort of more muted ones, and the one I've used on the heart and the top of the watering can there was also the Stormy Sea. And if I wanted a slightly deeper tone, like on the tulip here, I wanted something a bit deeper, and here I actually mixed the two together. I just added a tiny touch of the Pacific Teal into it. And then when I wanted some detail on this flower here, I don't know if you can see if I zoom in, I just did some dotty detail on here, and I did sort of an in-between flower petal detail over here. Then I just went back in with the straight Stormy Sea back on top of my mixed colour as well. So, oh, and the final colour, so this sort of splattering on the umbrella, this little bit on the tulips, the bit on the handle, and on the words on the Love Moo sign, on the actual Love Moo words, I used a metallic luster paint called Peacock Feathers. So those are all of the 32 different paints that I used to paint this gorgeous Highland cow. But I thought I'd just do this bit at the beginning of the video so you know where I got this MDF kit from, which is from Polkadoodles Craft or polkadoodle.co.uk, and I have got affiliate links for them as well, so they will be in the description box below the video if you want to get hold of this fantastic MDF kit, either just the Highland Cow, just the sign, or both of them together. I think they're actually, even just the sign would be nice. Maybe you know somebody who collects like little cow figurines or something. You could make that sign as like a funny little thing to go within their collection and sit on the shelf as well, because this actually has a hole up here to hang it. I covered the hole with some hearts, but if you look on the website you'll see that Nikki put a lovely big busy sort of bow coming out of the hole on the top, so it can just be a little plaque that hangs, but you do have the ability to put it onto a stand. And if I turn this round you'll see it has a lovely heart on the other side, so it all looks really nice from both angles with that sign as well. So, I hope you enjoyed seeing this up close to begin with, and I will pass you over to Past Me, who's in sped up mode that's being edited by my sibling, so hopefully they do a good job at editing the rest of the video. So enjoy, and thanks so much for watching. Bye!